Instagram Stories for Wednesday, May 22nd. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. There's a lot of news to get into. Let's jump right in. First, there was a recent creator event held by Instagram in New York, where the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, answered questions about the platform, the algorithm, what they're working on, and so forth. Your first question is probably going to be, Daniel, were you invited? No, I was not invited. But Daniel, don't you live in the New York City area and you're a creator? Yes, I am, and yes, I do. But I was not included in this invitation. Maybe it just got lost in the mail. Who knows? The point is, Instagram shared some information and I'm going to share it with you. First, there was a slide that talked about what can help you get more distribution on the platform and what can hurt your distribution on the platform. Of the things listed, which are mostly generic, for instance, what can help distribution? Drive authentic engagement. Consider when your audience is online. Upload content at the highest resolution. Post your content at the same time as other platforms. These are all generic things. What can hurt distribution? Engagement bait. And this is where it gets really interesting. What can hurt distribution? Reels over 90 seconds. Okay, hang on a second. Instagram lets you post reels that are a maximum of 90 seconds. How would you even post a reel that was longer than 90 seconds? And why would you do that if people don't want to watch them? I'm going to answer both of those questions in a second, but first, a little bit of context. Instagram has been experimenting with 3-minute Reels uploads and 10-minute Reels uploads. Although, I guess if Instagram is telling you don't do Reels longer than 90 seconds, I guess those experiments of 3 minutes and 10 minutes are not really working that well. However, I was recently reading Taylor Loren's email. I didn't say Taylor Lorenz. I said Taylor Loren, who has an email newsletter that I read, and I highly recommend it. It's very good. She talks about the technical time limit for Reels being 90 seconds, but there is a hidden workaround to posting longer Reels, even if you don't have access to be part of the 3-minute or the 10-minute test trials. She says that if you create a regular post, not a reel, but just a regular post, and upload your video, no matter how long it is, whether it's longer than 90 seconds or not, it will post as a reel while bypassing the time limit. Isn't that an interesting workaround? I was thinking that I would test that, but on second thought, if Instagram says don't do reels over 90 seconds, then I'm not really sure why I would test that. But anyway, just because you can doesn't mean that you should. That's the point. I will link to all this information in the show notes so you can check it out for yourself. And be sure to take a look at the graphic that was in the slide that Instagram shared at this creator event. It'll give you a little bit more context to see it visually. In other Instagram news, it appears that Instagram is testing a new story highlight feature that would let you automatically share your stories to your story highlights for 7 days. The feature is called Lately, and it says, highlight your stories from the last 7 days. Stories are automatically shared to the Lately highlight and removed after 7 days. You can always remove stories that you don't want to include. Then you have the option of turning Lately on or leaving it off. This is a very interesting idea. I haven't been a fan of story highlights for a long time. I don't watch other people's story highlights, and I don't really care to make my own story highlights because I don't think anyone is that invested in my stories. But I think it's a really interesting idea to kind of automatically keep something there for longer than 24 hours. Sometimes you create some stories over the weekend of what you're doing behind the scenes, whatever, and people aren't necessarily on their phones as much on the weekend. They're outside spending time with family and friends, and so they miss that 24-hour window. This is a really good way for Instagram to have those stories stay alive just a little bit longer so other people have the opportunity to see them. Okay, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, the head of Instagram shares a tip about comments that I think is important to know. So stick around. And we're back. Have you ever posted something on Instagram and you start getting comments right away and you think, you know what? I need to answer these comments so that I can keep the conversation on this post going. Well, that might not be the best idea. Here's the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, talking about how long you should wait to respond to comments on Instagram posts and why.
Some quick advice. Wait about an hour before you get into the comments, particularly if you tend to get some heat in your comments on Instagram. Now, we're trying to do everything we can to remove harassing comments and bullying comments from not only comments, but everywhere else on Instagram. And we've got more room to improve. But if you wait about an hour, it'll give us more time for other people to comment and for us to push those negative comments that might not go so far that we can bring them down off the platform entirely. So those negative comments get pushed down. Also, quick plugs. Try hidden words. Doesn't only work in comments, but also works for DMs to protect yourself. And restrict, which allows you to protect yourself from someone who's harassing you without them even knowing about it. More to come. Peace.
Nice to see Instagram taking steps to prevent those negative comments from coming through, and also a great reminder to turn on hidden words. If there are certain words that people use on your posts and you find those words to be derogative or offensive in some way or just straight up annoying, add those words to your hidden words list and then you'll never see them again. Not in your comments, not in your DMs. I personally added the word ambassador to my hidden words because why am I always getting spam messages from bots that want me to be an ambassador for things? Then I don't see the messages anymore. In other news, TikTok has launched a new creator program. It's called the TikTok Change Makers Program, and it's all about highlighting the people who are creating content on TikTok that has a positive impact on and beyond the platform. Now, obviously, the goal of this effort is to show how valuable TikTok is for people in the United States and all the positivity that is there. In the blog post that TikTok posted about this, which I'll link to in the show notes, they explain that their, quote, first ever global social impact creator elevation program spotlights creators and nonprofits who create meaningful change in their communities through TikTok. Throughout the 6-month program, we will support these creators to build engaged communities, reach new audiences, and unlock real-world opportunities through dedicated tools, resources, and donations to the designed nonprofit organizations, which will allow them to drive an even greater impact around their causes. End quote. I will link to this in the show notes so you can check it out for yourself. That is going to do it for today's episode. As always, thank you so much for listening, and be sure to come back next time for more social media news, strategy, other things that you need to know. And here is the wrap song.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager, but do not have a bachelor's degree. But actually, that's factually a fraction of me. Another fraction's posting content irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the Gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency, but I got a lot of spam. Just putting in my work without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish unless it's shrimp or clam. No 6-pack, no risk that there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.